Imagine for a second, right, that you've done everything exactly the way you're supposed to.
Right.
Like, someone is harassing you, so you go to the police, you go to the courts, you get the restraining orders, the injunctions, the gavel comes down in your favor.
They checked all the boxes.
Exactly. The legal system, which is, it's the very foundation meant to protect us in a civilized society, it has drawn a firm line in the sand.
Yeah.
But then you realize something terrifying. The bad actor targeting you, they just don't see that legal system as a boundary at all.
Not even a little bit.
Right. They treat it as like a minor inconvenience, just a piece of paper to be ignored, or even worse, a tool to be weaponized against you.
Which is truly the scary part.
It is. And it makes you wonder, how does a convicted stalker manage to terrorize people for over a decade despite explicit court orders telling him to stop?
It's a question we really need to answer.
Well, today on this deep dive, we have the paper trail that proves exactly how it happened.
We really do.
We're diving into two very distinct pieces of primary source evidence today to unpack what is just a truly chilling story.
Yeah, on one side, we have the official criminal court records out of Napa County for a man named Thomas Schoenberger.
Right.
And then on the other side, we have a transcript from a 2025 FBI video meeting with one of his victims.
Right, which gives us the human element. So our mission today is to connect this dry, bureaucratic, legal paper trail to the actual real-world psychological warfare he waged.
Because they're directly linked.
They are. And I have to say, to you listening right now, this deep dive, it's going to fundamentally change how you view the safety of the internet.
Oh, absolutely.
And honestly, the actual limits of the justice system itself.
It really shatters this implicit social contract we all have, right?
Yeah.
This baseline assumption that the law acts as the definitive shield.
Totally.
When we look at these Napa County documents, specifically case CR 155849, which was filed in February of 2011, we are looking at the foundational cracks in that shield.
So let's get right into that docket, because I'm looking at it right now, and right near the top is charge 009.
Right. California Penal Code 646.9A.
Exactly. Which is felony stalking.
Yes, it is.
And we see that by May of 2011, Schoenberger enters a plea of no contest.
Right.
Now, I always see this in, legal thrillers and stuff, but why would someone choose no contest? I mean, if you are accepting the punishment, why not just plead guilty and be done with it?
Well, think of it like a strategic retreat in a game of chess.
Okay, how so?
You aren't explicitly admitting guilt to your opponent, but you are basically accepting the checkmate so you can end the match quickly.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, in the legal world, a no contest plea means you accept the criminal penalty, but you aren't actually confessing to the underlying facts of the crime.
So you're not saying, I did it.
Right. And the crucial reason people do this is to protect themselves later on.
Like from civil suits.
Exactly. If you plead guilty, that confession can be introduced as absolute proof in a civil lawsuit. Say the victim wants to sue you for damages later. If you pled guilty, you already admitted you did it.
Right. They have you dead to rights.
But by pleading no contest, you take the criminal hit, sure, but you keep your defenses up for any future civil battles.
Okay, so it's essentially this calculated risk management move.
Exactly.
Which already shows a level of, I don't know, legal maneuvering.
Oh, he knew what he was doing.
Right. And let's actually talk about the quote-unquote hit he took, because the sentence the court handed down is just staggering in its leniency.
It really is.
For a felony stalking conviction, he gets 3 years of formal probation, 480 hours in a work program, and get this, 2 days in the Napa County Department of Corrections.
2 days.
2 days. I just can't get over the 2 days in jail.
It is incredibly light, especially when you consider that leading up to this plea, several other charges for violating court orders, which is under PC 273.6A, they were actually dismissed before the hearing.
Wait, they just dropped them?
He did.
I mean, does an incredibly light initial sentence like this basically teach a bad actor that the consequences for his actions are just totally toothless?
It absolutely does.
Because if the penalty for terrifying someone for actual felony stalking is essentially a weekend in holding and picking up trash on the highway, it doesn't exactly scream iron fist of justice.
No, it doesn't. And that is the exact systemic vulnerability we were talking about here.
Right.
You have to understand, the justice system, especially at the county level like this, is just notoriously overburdened.
Yeah, they have so many cases.
Right, prosecutors and judges are managing massive caseloads. So when dealing with early offenses, even serious ones like felony stalking, this system heavily favors swift resolutions.
They just want to clear the docket.
Exactly. They use probation as a leash, basically assuming that the threat of future jail time will correct the behavior.
Because for most people, it would.
Right. They operate on this assumption that a felony conviction on a record is enough of a deterrent for a normal person.
But this assumes the person cares about having a felony on their record, or that they fear the leash at all.
And as we see in the rest of this docket, that leash was basically made of wet paper.
Right. It just completely dissolved.
We can see the immediate failure of this whole approach when we just jump forward to 2014 in these exact same court records.
Yeah, this part of the timeline is wild.
The timeline here becomes this exhausting, chaotic, administrative nightmare. Starting in March 2014, his probation is revoked.
Okay.
Then it's reinstated. And then it's revoked again.
And it isn't just happening in a vacuum, right?
No.
Because I see he's juggling this alongside a concurrent 2011 misdemeanor case, too. Case CR 156019, which is for reckless driving, where he's also on probation.
Exactly. So he's violating multiple probations simultaneously across different cases.
So he's getting warrants ordered, warrants issued, revoked, reinstated in March, then December, then January.
It's a revolving door.
I mean, why does a judge keep reinstating probation for someone who clearly has zero respect for the court's authority? Why not just lock him up the second time he violates it?
It really comes down to systemic lag and, honestly, judicial fatigue.
Judicial fatigue.
Yeah. Revoking probation isn't just like flipping a switch. It requires hearings, paperwork, scheduling, getting the police to actually bring the defendant in.
So it's a huge hassle for the court.
Exactly. And often, by the time the hearing actually happens, defense attorneys can argue that the violation was just a technicality or the defendant makes all these promises of compliance.
I'll do better this time, Your Honor.
Right. The system is fundamentally designed to give people chances, to avoid incarceration if possible.
Which is normally a good thing.
It is. But an individual like Schoenberger learns to exploit this administrative inertia.
He finds the loophole.
Yeah, he realizes that a revoked probation just means more paperwork and another court date months down the line. It doesn't mean immediate handcuffs.
Right. It's like a driver collecting parking tickets and using them as wallpaper. The rules simply don't register as actual consequences.
That's a perfect way to put it. And these records document a systemic, deeply ingrained disregard for judicial authority.
But the court does eventually run out of patience, right?
They do finally reach a breaking point. In December of 2014, the judge amended his sentence on the felony case, ordering him to serve 90 days in jail.
Finally.
But look at the sheer amount of judicial energy, the court dates, the bench warrants, spent over years just to get to that 90-day sentence.
It's mind-boggling. The court finally gave him 90 days, but honestly, by then, the damage was completely done.
The lesson was learned.
Right. He had already learned this crucial lesson. The legal system is slow, and paper doesn't stop you.
Exactly.
And we see the horrific real-world consequences of that specific lesson a decade later, which brings us directly to this FBI interview.
Yeah, so we're shifting our focus now to a transcript of a video meeting on February 5th, 2025. We have FBI Special Agent Andrew Melville, who was operating out of Provo, Utah, and he's interviewing a man named Jesse Davis.
And Jesse has been through a lot.
Jesse and his wife, Paula, have been enduring what he describes as 7.5 years of hell at the hands of Schoenberger.
Yeah. But before Jesse even gets into what happened to his own family, he provides this really critical context to the FBI agent about another victim.
Right, a woman named Beth Bogarts.
Exactly. And her story just perfectly illustrates the absolute defiance of the law we were just talking about in Napa County.
It's the exact same pattern.
Right. Jesse tells the FBI that Beth fought back legally against Schoenberger. And she didn't just fight back, she won.
Decisively.
Yeah, she won a massive civil court case against him on 9 separate counts, including fraud, extortion, and stalking.
And Jesse notes that the case involved over $40,000.
Wow.
And because the harassment was so severe, the court granted Beth a permanent lifetime injunction.
A lifetime injunction.
Yeah. This is one of the most severe restrictive tools a civil court can possibly issue. It legally prohibited Schoenberger from ever even mentioning her name in public or private or having any third parties talk about her on his behalf.
So a lifetime permanent injunction, that is the system drawing the absolute ultimate line in the sand.
As firm as it gets.
But Jesse tells the FBI that Schoenberger just completely ignores it.
Of course he does.
He tells the agent that Schoenberger still talks about her constantly online, and he uses this whole network of third-party minions to continue harassing her.
It's just relentless.
And the most chilling part of all this, the harassment got so bad that Beth literally had to flee the country.
Which is just awful to think about.
Yeah, she hasn't lived in the United States for years because of this guy.
And Jesse even reports to the FBI that Schoenberger and his network sent Beth emails telling her to go kill herself.
God!
Yeah, promising that if she did, they would finally leave her son alone.
This is exactly what I just cannot wrap my head around.
It's a lot.
If a victim does everything right, spends thousands of dollars, wins on 9 separate counts, gets a permanent lifetime legal injunction, and still has to literally flee the country because that injunction is basically just a worthless piece of paper to the stalker.
Yeah.
What does that say about our modern legal tools? It feels like we are bringing a strongly worded letter to a psychological knife fight.
That's exactly what it is. And it exposes a massive, gaping vulnerability in civil law.
Okay, how so?
Well, an injunction is a civil order. If someone violates a criminal probation, like we saw in Napa County, eventually the police show up and take you to jail.
Right, there's a criminal warrant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if someone violates a civil injunction, the police don't just automatically arrest them.
Wait, they don't?
No. The victim has to go back to court, file a motion for contempt, pay more lawyer fees, schedule a hearing, and then prove the violation to a judge.
So the burden of enforcing the court's own order falls entirely on the exhausted, traumatized victim.
Precisely. The system relies entirely on the assumption that the offender fears the financial or legal penalty of violating the order.
But what if they don't?
That's the problem. When the bad actor has no fear of those penalties and knows the victim has to bankrupt themselves just to enforce it, the paper offers zero physical or psychological protection.
That is infuriating.
Schoenberger treats a lifetime civil injunction with the exact same contempt as his criminal probation.
But he didn't just learn to ignore the law. That's the thing. He learned how to actively manipulate people and systems.
He evolved.
Right. And that brings us to the core of this FBI interview, what he did to Jesse's wife, Paula.
This is where things take a very dark turn.
Yeah. According to Jesse, Paula first encountered Schoenberger online in June of 2017.
Right.
She was drawn into these highly complex online puzzles, specifically ones known in internet lore as Cicada and Tangri 137.
Now, these aren't just like daily crosswords.
No.
They're these elaborate alternate reality games involving higher mathematics, cryptography, and this weird esoteric spirituality.
And Paula was highly intelligent, so these puzzles really appealed to her. But Jesse describes what happened next as essentially being sucked into a cult.
Which is a very accurate description.
But why puzzles? I mean, how does someone go from solving a math puzzle online to being in a cult-like dynamic?
Because it acts as a filtering mechanism.
A filter?
Yeah. By creating or co-opting incredibly complex esoteric puzzles, you attract a very specific type of person.
Okay.
Someone who is intelligent, curious, and often looking for deeper meaning or hidden truths in the world.
They're looking for a community of like-minded people.
Exactly. And once a target is engaged, the perpetrators systematically isolate them from their normal reality. Jesse notes that they started bombarding Paula with these bizarre fantasy stories.
Right, yeah. Schoenberger allegedly claimed to be the reincarnation of a historical figure named Saint Germain.
Which sounds ridiculous to us, but in that context.
Right, they started telling Paula she was in line to inherit the wealth of the world. Jesse said they sent her 1,000 emails in just a few months.
1,000 emails.
I mean, that's a deliberate tactic, isn't it? Just completely overwhelming her reality so she can't distinguish fact from fiction anymore.
It is. It's called psychological flooding.
Psychological flooding.
Yeah, you overwhelm the target's cognitive processing to the point where they become entirely dependent on the manipulator for their sense of reality.
Wow.
And while they were spinning these grand tales of global wealth, Jesse points out a very chilling, grounded detail to the FBI.
What was that?
The very first thing Schoenberger asked Paula wasn't about spirituality or math.
Mm-hmm.
He asked, what do you do for a living? And what does your husband do?
Oh, man. So he was immediately fishing for financial and personal leverage.
Sizing up the target from day one.
Right. And this relentless bombardment achieved its goal. By September of 2017, Paula suffers a severe mental breakdown.
It just broke her.
Jesse is terrified, obviously. He takes her to the emergency room, but because they don't have a dedicated mental health unit, she's sent home. A month later, things escalate even further. Police are called to their home, and Paula is finally admitted to an actual mental health facility for professional inpatient help.
So she is finally in a place designed to protect her and stabilize her reality.
Right, exactly. But this is the part of the FBI transcript that literally made my jaw drop.
Oh, this part is unbelievable.
Jesse tells the agent that he later got the medical records from this facility. And while Paula is in there, highly vulnerable, Schoenberger allegedly calls the front desk of the facility, and he poses as Dr. Thomas Schoenberger, a neurologist from California.
And he doesn't just call to, see how she's doing.
No.
According to the medical documents Jesse references, this fake Dr. Schoenberger proceeds to give the facility his own professional prognosis and diagnosis of Paula right over the phone.
He just makes it up.
Completely. He tells the medical professionals that Paula has no history of psychosis, that she is not a danger to herself, that she absolutely doesn't need to be in an inpatient facility.
And that she's just a woman who needs some sleep.
Exactly. He even recommends they just prescribe her Xanax and send her home.
It's literally a form of system hacking. I mean, just like a computer hacker uses social engineering to trick an IT department into handing over a password, he used social engineering to trick a hospital into handing over control of a woman's medical care.
That's exactly what it is.
But I still have to ask, how does this actually work? I mean, Jesse, her actual husband, is standing right there begging the staff to keep her and get her help.
Right.
He even provided the facility with video footage of her breakdown. How does a hospital take a random phone call from an unverified doctor out of state as an overriding authority?
It is a stunning, catastrophic breach of protocol by the facility, without a doubt.
It really is.
But to understand how it happens, you kind of have to look at the realities of emergency psychiatric care in this country.
Okay, tell me about that.
These wards are chronically underfunded, understaffed, and just overflowing with patients. They rely heavily on triage.
So they're just constantly scrambling.
Yes. The staff are exhausted and constantly looking for a reason to free up a bed for the next crisis that walks through the door.
So they are primed to look for an easy out.
Exactly. When someone calls in with an authoritative tone, using all the right medical terminology, claiming to be a neurologist, providing a concurrent diagnosis, it triggers this bias of medical hierarchy.
Oh, I see.
The staff, who are, again, looking for a reason to discharge a patient and ease their caseload, they just accept it at face value without strict verification.
They just want to believe it.
The fake doctor tells them exactly what they want to hear. This isn't a crisis, just give her some sleep medication. It's the path of least resistance for an overworked system.
That makes a terrifying amount of sense. And because of that one phone call, the facility discharged Paula.
They sent her right out the door.
They sent her home with no real diagnosis and no proper medication.
Which is exactly what the fake doctor ordered.
Right. Jesse told the FBI it took him 6 months to get her an appointment with an actual psychiatrist after that.
Half a year.
6 months where Jesse couldn't even go to his job because he was terrified he'd come home and find his wife dead. Because she was actively suicidal.
It's heartbreaking.
And during those entire 6 months, the online bombardment, the emails, the puzzles from Schoenberger, it all just continued.
This really reveals a terrifying evolution in his tactics.
Yeah.
Schoenberger wasn't just breaking systems by ignoring them anymore, like he did with his probation in Napa County all those years ago.
Right, he leveled up.
He was learning how to actively weaponize institutions against his targets. He manipulated a healthcare institution to isolate his victim, prevent her from receiving psychiatric help, and maintain total control over her mental state.
Weaponizing the system.
Yeah.
And Jesse details a whole litany of tactics to the FBI that show how this escalated even further.
Yeah, the hospital was just the start.
He talks about Schoenberger using public services as literal weapons. Like Jesse says, Schoenberger's network called Adult Protective Services APS to the Davis home.
Right.
And they falsely claimed that Jesse was holding Paula captive in a compound and abusing her.
I mean, think about the psychological impact of that.
It's insane.
The victim is already terrified.
Right.
And suddenly, government agents are showing up at the door, accusing the only person trying to protect her of being her abuser.
It flips reality completely upside down.
It isolates the victim even further. And it drains the husband's time, money, and emotional reserves because he's having to defend himself against false state investigations.
And then there's a tactic Jesse calls lawfare.
Lawfare, yeah.
Because Schoenberger knows that Paula has developed a severe traumatic fear of the police. because of everything she's been through.
So what does he do with that information?
He deliberately threatens to have police officers serve her with civil deposition papers right at their front door.
It's purely vindictive.
He has no real legal case, but he uses the legal process itself, like the physical act of being served by a uniformed officer, as a mechanism of psychological torture.
He turns the very institutions meant to protect civil society, the emergency room, adult protective services, the police, the court system, into his own personal arsenal of harassment.
Yeah. Exactly. He is literally using the state's authority to inflict his abuse.
And this psychological warfare, it took on deeply morbid tones online, too.
It got very dark.
Jesse describes this video Schoenberger uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah.
The video was literally titled Death and featured horrific footage of people dying.
Just awful stuff.
And the description of this video explicitly named Jesse Davis, stating something to the effect of, "A coward dies 1,000 deaths."
Wow.
I mean, when a convicted stalker posts a video of actual deaths and tags your name in it, you understandably take that as direct physical threat against your life.
Oh, 100%. And Jesse points out to the FBI that this trail of destruction isn't isolated to just his family or even to Beth Bogarts.
Right, there are more.
Jesse details something he calls the Judas curse.
The Judas curse.
Yeah, it's this tactic where Schoenberger publicly accuses people online of betraying him, and then he unleashes his whole network upon them.
Like an attack dog.
Exactly. He specifically names Isaac Cappy, right?
Yes.
A Hollywood actor who made a bizarre public video apologizing for, quote, becoming a Judas, unquote, right before jumping off a bridge.
Yeah.
And he mentions another man in the UK who died by suicide after his music and content were allegedly stolen in a massive harassment campaign.
Now, obviously, the FBI would need to investigate the direct legal causality of those tragedies, right, to prove a strict criminal link.
Sure, of course.
But Jesse is painting a very vivid picture for Special Agent Melville of a global trail of absolute devastation.
It's massive.
He even notes that within just the 3 weeks prior to this 2025 interview, at least 10 other survivors had filed IC3 complaints.
Wait, what's an IC3 complaint?
That's the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center.
Okay.
So at least 10 other people reported very similar patterns of systemic abuse and harassment in just a 3-week window.
So if you are listening to this right now, you might be asking yourself, why should I care about the specifics of these Napa County court dockets from over a decade ago, or this FBI interview from Utah?
Right. Why does this matter to the average person?
Exactly. And the answer is because this case is a massive red flag for the reality we all live in right now.
It really is.
It proves that modern stalking isn't just like a shadowy figure following you down a dark street at night.
No, it's so much more than that.
It is the sophisticated weaponization of the internet, the healthcare system, emergency services, and the courts against your daily life.
Yes.
It is someone sitting comfortably behind a screen, figuring out how to pull the levers of a trusting society to systematically destroy your reality.
We have tracked a narrative through line today that should really make everyone pause.
Yeah.
We started with a man receiving a 2011 felony stalking conviction. We watched through those court records as he engaged in years of brazen probation violations, suffering only minimal delayed consequences.
A slap on the wrist.
Right. He learned the system was slow and easily manipulated. And that direct, unchecked path leads all the way to a 2025 FBI interview outlining a multi-platform campaign of psychological destruction.
The court records from 2011 and 2014, they warned the system exactly who he was.
They absolutely did.
They showed us a man who viewed the rules of society as just completely beneath him. And the FBI interview with Jesse Davis showed us exactly what happens when those early warnings are ignored.
When a bad actor is allowed to iterate and practice and perfect his tactics on innocent people for over a decade,
right,
it forces us to confront a very uncomfortable reality about our institutions.
Which is what?
That the police, the courts, the hospitals, they are largely built on a societal honor system.
An honor system?
Yeah, the baseline belief that the average person respects authority and fears penalties. When someone completely rejects that authority and instead learns to speak the language of those institutions to hack them, the system struggles to adapt quickly enough to protect the victims.
The bureaucracy itself becomes the weapon, which leaves us with a lingering, provocative question for you to mull over today.
Okay.
Our entire justice system is built on the fundamental assumption that people fear consequences, right? Like jail time, fines, or a judge's gavel.
Right.
But how can society effectively protect itself from an individual who views the courtroom and the law not as an authority to be obeyed, but simply as another puzzle to exploit or just a stage for their harassment?
It's a question that law enforcement, lawmakers, and honestly, all of us navigating this digital age are going to have to answer, and soon,
Yeah,
because the paper trail is only going to get longer.
it definitely will. Stay curious, keep questioning the world around you, and remember that the systems we rely on to keep us safe are only as strong as the people enforcing them.
Well said.
And sometimes you really do have to look at the dry, bureaucratic paper trail to understand the monster in the room. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.